Let's talk about this with our panel. We have David Gergen, CNN senior political analyst, former advisor to 4 U.S. presidents. Alice Stewart's a CNN political commentator, Republican strategist. She's also former communications director for Senator Ted Cruz. Maria Cardona is a CNN political commentator, a Democratic strategist. Also with us, CNN legal analyst Laura Coates, a former federal prosecutor. David Gergen, Democrats are going to fight today on Capitol Hill. They're going to fight for this hearing of the Deputy Attorney General nominee, a guy who actually, by all accounts, they like and was supposed to, get in with smooth sailing. But now senators, including Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, say they're not going to let him in unless he agrees to appoint a special prosecutor. What are Democrats after here?
This case right now is being tried in the court of public opinion, and the Democrats want to be on top. This is really all about gaining public support, putting pressure on the Republicans. There is no, I think it's inconceivable that the nominee for Deputy Attorney General will give a guarantee today that he will appoint a special prosecutor. It's inappropriate. He doesn't have all the evidence yet. The Justice Department is supposed to make an independent decision about whether to get a special prosecutor or not. They can get requests in from Congress, but it is up to the Justice Department to make that independent decision. He may well be the person who has to make that decision. And to give an answer today when he hasn't seen the evidence would just be inappropriate. He has to wait till he gets there.
So here's why Senator Blumenthal believes that's not the case. Listen to him just this morning.
When Elliot Richardson was designated as Attorney General during the Watergate era, he was required as a condition of his nomination as Attorney General to say he would appoint a special prosecutor, and he did.
So Laura, parse through that for us.
Well, the reason they're talking about the Watergate scandal and Watergate era is a whole different world, theoretically now, about why you have special prosecutors. But the main thing now is a special prosecutor essentially says, we have no faith in the Justice Department to be able to objectively oversee an investigation, which sounds very odd if the whole basis for a confirmation hearing is to say that we give you an unfettered trust right now in your ability to do just that. So he's in a very unique position. Remember, this is a Deputy Attorney General nominee who was the person that Eric Holder called to investigate Iran cyber attacks. He worked with Kenneth Starr. He handled the Whitewater issues. This is somebody who across, party lines has been known to be objective. So to now require of him to admit that he will no longer be able to be that once he takes office puts him in a very, very precarious position.
Now, speaking of precarious positions, let's talk about James Comey, the FBI director, who, I suppose coincidentally was a former Deputy Attorney General himself. Alice Stewart, Kellyanne Conway said something interesting today, and this gets to the idea that there's this feud between the FBI director and the White House. Yeah. The FBI director incredulous that President Trump accused President Obama of wiretapping him. Well, now Kellyanne Conway said if Director Comey has something to say, perhaps he can just issue a statement or be more explicit. We know he's not shy. Alice, those seem like loaded words from Kellyanne Conway. Do you think that it's time for James Comey to speak up?
I think there's a lot of people that were concerned when they saw the tweets come out about accusing President Obama of the wiretaps. And I think Comey was right to be concerned about that. But whether or not he should be the one to come forward remains to be seen. And look, if I were him, I wouldn't want to know unequivocally that I have the full faith and confidence of the president, because General Flynn had that and he was gone a few days later. So I think from his standpoint, I think it's right to sit back and let the information present itself. But I do think it's important that if the president is going to make such a claim, I think it's important to put some more information out there, because I think a baseless claim like this without the information to back it up just puts this the center of attention when there are actually some good news they could be talking about, such as repealing and replacing Obamacare. And unfortunately, this is taking center stage.
On the same week that they're going to try to get these markups done and get something that even their own all the Republicans can, most of them at least, get on board with. Maria Cardona, I can't help but want to get your reaction to Alice's assertion that now Comey should sort of sit back versus maybe hold a press conference, maybe send some letters. What do you think?
Well, a couple of things. First, I agree with Alice that more information needs to be put out there about these allegations. But guess who needs to put that more information out? President Trump, who is the first one who made these allegations based on what we know so far. Absolutely nothing. So if, according to Secretary Mattis, if he really believes that Trump has some sort of basis to have made these allegations, then Trump is under the obligation to be the one to share what basis that is with the American people. Because barring that, everybody is turning to him and saying, what is wrong with you? You are lying yet again, and you are putting sort of the full faith of the American government on trial here. And so I actually do also agree with others, frankly, Kellyanne Conway, and that's going to be very rare, that, this is Comey, it's rare that he is shy, because we saw during the Hillary Clinton investigation, he wasn't shy there. So what's keeping him from making what he said apparently to those in private to say it publicly? If he is really concerned, if he is incredulous about the allegations that the president made, as he should be, then he should come out publicly and say so.
David Gurgan, we got something between a chuckle and a guffaw from you during that answer, and I'm curious why. I mean, it can't be easy these days to be James Comey.
Oh, no, and I'm not sure whether President Trump has confidence in James Comey, but it's very clear James Comey does not have confidence in President Trump, and their relationship has deteriorated badly. It's hard to see how he stays on indefinitely, but I think one thing Donald Trump cannot afford to do now is to fire James Comey. No matter what he feels about him, it would be extremely controversial to knock the guy out, because in effect it looks like you're trying to muscle the investigation, you're trying to control the investigation, putting one of your own people in there and that sort of thing. That is not a good idea.
All right, guys, so the big fight right now, outside of this, trying to get their deputy AG confirmed for Republicans, is within their own party on Obamacare. Jason Chaffetz comes out. He was on CNN this morning talking about trying to push the plan in the House. Let's listen to what he said, the sacrifices that Americans need to make on this. Listen.
We're getting rid of the individual mandate. We're getting rid of those things that people said that they don't want. And you know what? Americans have choices, and they've got to make a choice. And so maybe rather than getting that new iPhone that they just love and they want to go spend hundreds of dollars on that, maybe they should invest in their own health care. They've got to make those decisions themselves.
So, I mean, Alice, this gets to the sort of the classic Republican argument between access and coverage. They may have access, but it's sort of on them. Was that the right analogy to make? Because those are the headlines right now. You can have your iPhone or your health care.
I don't think it's to that extreme. I do think with regard to the plan that we've seen, I think having it more of a marketplace where there's more individual choices, I think is important, as well as the pre-existing conditions. Look, we knew this was going to be a difficult fight. We knew that there were going to be some tough conversations made, but I think the good thing here is that now we do have a plan on the table. We can have conversations, and people can see it, they can read it, and they can reach out to their congressman and let their feelings be known and work on this out in the open, as opposed to what we saw with Obamacare that was shoved down our throats in the darkness at the last minute. I think it's important to get it out there and have a conversation amongst everyone and get input from people across the country.
Maria Cardona, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, first of all, to be clear, when the Affordable Care Act passed, it passed very transparently. There were tons and tons of hearings on this, including Republican input. More than 200 amendments were accepted to the Affordable Care Act that came from Republicans. So let's just put that to rest, because it was transparent. And speaking of transparency, we don't even know how much this new bill is going to cost. They are going to go into the markup process without understanding what is this going to cost the American people. CBO has not scored it. They're not going to wait for that. I think the American people at least should understand what is this going to cost them, because right now what we know is, and according to Jason Chaffetz, this is going to be an issue where Americans are going to have to choose. And frankly, I'm sorry, Congressman, it is not between buying an iPhone and getting health care. Is going to be between paying your mortgage and getting health care. Those are the differences between, what Republicans are saying and what Democrats understand are what needs to be the priorities. Republicans don't seem to understand what Americans are going through when they actually have to make real choices in terms of paying their bills.
We got to leave it there. But to be fair, a lot of people face huge premium hikes because of the existing plan as well. So that's a challenge on the Democrat side still with
of the 20 million people who have current health care coverage.
All right, some of them
and yes, we should
very,
fix it.
very big hikes. Thank you very much. We'll have you all back coming up for us.